Noah est sous la guidance de Hannah-Sue Holberg, qui est descendue expressément pour l'assister.
So he's doing a very, very good job here, really letting the horse reach there in the extended walk. I know the dressage has been a little bit tougher for Noah historically, but it's getting better and better every time out, and he's a beautiful rider. Their last run was actually in the 3-star at Tryon International. I can tell you that was a stunning cross-country course down there too. So the perfect prep for him coming into this challenging event up here at Bromont. I know, Anne, you can probably appreciate this, having come to this event so many times, but we say over and over again how important it is to bring your horses up here to Bromont to jump these challenging tracks.
Yes, the terrain is very unique with the up and down hills. I think it's very special.
It is really special, and Derek DeGrazia's stunning cross-country course out there, and we are just absolutely. It's a place where lots of top riders make sure they bring their horses to see really what they have to bring up, whether these horses are going to be 5-star horses or whether you can really test them and get a good gauge out here of what a proper cross-country horse is going to be. It's never a dressage show here, and it's honestly. You have every single phase is influential. You need to come in here and do the best you can, of course, on the first day, but in the show jumping is also excellent every single time out. So, I love seeing the shake up every single day on the leaderboard, Anne.
Yeah, it's definitely quite a lucky experience for the riders to come and experience this venue with the nice rings that we have, the great footing, and there's always a great attention also to footing on cross country. And so far so good. It looks like the weather will cooperate.
Gosh, we got really lucky with the weather. It's been raining a lot up here, but this is unseasonably warm this week, and we've actually had some very sunny days and had some wind, and that's dried things up considerably, which it definitely needed to because it was lots of rain the last couple of weeks. Well, I think so far Noah's going to be very happy with us. I think so is Hannah. Is riding a very accurate test. He knows that it's a tricky thing knowing how much to push on the day, because you want to try to go for every point, but you also want to make sure that you're not going to lose, throw the baby out with the bathwater per se, right? And it's a little bit tricky too, Anne, because this test it's a bit odd because you come back and finish with the trot work as well. You do your beginning, you do your shoulder in and some lengthening and things like that. But then you go and canter and do all of your canter work and your walk work, and then you come back and do the half pass and the stretch, which horses, we don't normally do that, so it's a little bit of a change in rhythm. So I'll be interested to see how many horses actually, whether their trot work is better at the end of the test or at the beginning of the test. He's going to be very pleased with that. Well done, Noah.
Donc, ceci conclut la reprise de Noah Stanleysyke de McMurray, Pennsylvania et Chesterland.
It was a big pat. You can see how happy he is. And you see how fit that horse is. You definitely want to have a fit horse coming up here to Bromont, as we discussed, and certainly are always happy. Maybe the first day might be slightly harder on a thoroughbred, but you're always happy to have it on Saturday. And look how nice that tail looks, not to get superficial, but it looks very nice.
Definitely a nice attention to detail.
Yes.
So next one preparing to go into the ring is number 43, Caitlyn O'Roark from Centerville, Virginia, United States. She's riding Landmark's Mochaccino, 14-year-old gelding, warm blood, paint color, so very interesting color. Sired by Maximilian Dam Tyrrell, owned by Jacqueline Mars from Middleburg, Virginia, United States. La prochaine cavalière dans le ring est le numéro 43, Caitlyn O'Roark de Centreville, Virginie, États-Unis. Elle monte Landmark's Mochaccino, Warm Blood hongre de 14 ans, de 16 mains 2, par Maximilian de Tyrrell. La propriétaire est Jacqueline Marks de Middleburg, Virginie, États-Unis.
Well, if you're just joining us, I'm Sarah Kosemplik, and I'm sitting here with the lovely Anne Castaigne here at gorgeous Mars Bromont CCI. And we're about to watch one of my favorite little horses on, well, he's not little actually, but my owner, I will say to you, Anne, saw this horse as a young horse, and she absolutely loved the color. And I remember looking through the owner sheets and things and thinking, well, maybe I can wander over and see if they'll sell it. And I was like, oh, nope, this is a homebred. This is a homebred of Miss Mars. And so I knew that we definitely couldn't get our hands on it. But Lauren Nicholson actually produced this horse, and Caitlyn O'Roark now is getting the ride of it, which is a lovely thing for her. And every time I see her out, it's such a cute horse. Every time I see her out, it's better and better.
Its name definitely suits him.
I know it does, doesn't it? He's so cute. A great little trot. So the last few outings, she was just actually at the Virginia Horse Center, which is in beautiful Lexington, Virginia. And she was 8th in the 3-star there, so that was a great prep. And that course actually has quite a few steep hills, so it's a really good last run before you're going to be coming up here to Bromont fitness-wise.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to do on course, and the waters are very busy, and for the fitness also, the hills are quite unique.
Yes, and you can see all these horses coming in here. I mean, I thought the same thing when I just saw Noah's horse, that these horses look really fit and prepared. You know, they're all in good, a lot of these horses are in very, very good programs, and people know what to expect. And again, we are in the U25 3-star class, so that's very cool that we have these under 25 classes to help develop the future of our sport. Sue Ockenden has always been very passionate about both promoting the younger riders as they come through and giving them support, but also to try to develop the sport around the world. So we're very lucky with having lots of different stewards and judges in from different nationalities, and there's an FEI continuing education course here this weekend as well. And I think all of that is really down to, she has an incredible vision of trying to continue eventing and realizing that it needs to be a global effort. Well, Caitlyn is doing a good job, because I'll tell you, sometimes when you're in this walk on a fit horse, it's like you're on a cat on a hot tin roof, and you just want the canter to come. She's relieved to be getting to the canter. He's looking a little cheeky there. Sits beautifully, though, doesn't she, Anne?
For sure. And there is sometimes a bit of atmosphere in Bromont with the flags in behind, and
yes,
it can be intimidating for some horses.
Oh, for sure. And we were talking about this earlier, that the only way to practice under pressure is to be in these environments, right? You can work all day at home or going to your local horse show that might be a bit more chilled out. But yeah, unfortunately, you've just got to get into these main arenas. And this is what, again, the Bromont Rising program is about, is getting these kids into these atmospheres. They give a $2,500 grant through the USCA Foundation. Sue Ockenden and the late Steve Blauner, and actually Miss Mars is a big proponent of it as well. And that program not only helps with the money to come here and compete at this big world stage, but it also gives a lot of coaching with wonderful Bettina Hoy is here, program director Peter Gray, and all week they're having lessons with Bettina. They're listening to lectures from Peter, who's a top international dressage judge and eventing coach. And then they're getting access to Yves Rosset, the fantastic vet here, and it's just a really wonderful mentorship and continuing education for these kids.
Sarah mentionne que l'opportunité de monter à Bromont pour les jeunes cavaliers est vraiment exceptionnelle. Ils ont accès à des cavaliers et des entraîneurs de haut niveau FEI, qui les amènent vraiment plus loin et préparent leur carrière pour le futur. Et c'est très important de préparer la relève pour la suite du sport.
Well, she's doing a very good job getting every little bit she can out of it. Very nice half pass there. She's incredibly empathetic, has lovely feel. And, one of the hardest things I find, Anne, is when you're having a horse with a bit of tension in the test, is going, okay, well, I'm going to get every point I can. Because if you can even get a half a point more in every in every situation than you thought. So right there, a beautiful stretch, right? And she had a lovely half pass. If you can just inch that up a little bit, it's all a game of inches at the end of the day. If you can have maybe 1.5 or 2 points better than you could have had if you just sort of went, oh, it's just going badly. At the end of the day, that could mean winning and losing. So she did a lovely job, was incredibly professional about it, and I'm sure she's excited to get out on the cross country.
Donc, ceci marque la fin de la reprise pour Caitlyn O'Roark et Landsmart Muchachino. So this ends the test for Caitlyn O'Roark and Landmark's Muchachino.
He's a coffee, like a mochaccino, which I think is kind of perfect. He's got his little froth there in the middle.
He's definitely lovely.
Well, he thinks he did a very good job. I think Caitlyn's just glad it's over, but well done, Caitlyn.
All right, up next we have number 44, Ivie Cullen-Dean, riding Fernhill Cardiff Vega. An 8-year-old gelding Dapple Grey, which is an Irish sport horse, 16 hands. Ivie is from Newnan, Georgia, United States. The owner of the horse is Michael Dean, also from Newnan, Georgia, United States. Se préparant dans le réchauffement, nous avons le numéro 44, Ivie Cullen-Dean, de Newnan, Georgie, des États-Unis, montant Fernhill Cardiff Vega, un ongre de 8 ans, mesurant 16 mai 1, un cheval de sport irlandais qui est gris, pommelé, et le propriétaire est Michael Dean, Newnan, Georgie, des États-Unis. Donc, nous voyons Fernhill Cardiff Vega avec un petit nez rose qui prépare son entrée dans le ring.
Well, Ivie actually was up here last year, Anne, as part of the Bromont Rising program, and she did the 2-star here last year. And it's really fun because this horse looks completely different. One more year of strength and training and coming through. This horse looks fantastic. It was a very promising looking young horse to me last year. And you can see that she has really worked very hard all year because it looks another level up in its strength, and certainly looks very fit to take on this cross-country course on Saturday, which is wonderful to see. I enjoy their partnership. She's a lovely girl, and you can see her just giving the horse a little pat there and just to take a breath, because one of the challenges of eventing, of course, is that we have these very fit horses for the cross-country day, and then we have to try to go in here and say, hey, can you guys just take a breath and do your dressage test first?
Keeping it all together.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's the hard thing about it, isn't it? And he looks a whole nother level up in just his balance and everything else. I think she's doing a super job. If you're just joining us, I'm Sarah Kozenblick, and I'm joined here right now by Anne Costain. And we are watching the under 25 3-star class here at one of my favorite events in the world, Mars Bromont CCI.
Nous regardons présentement la classe du 3 étoiles long à la compétition de Bromont, sponsorisée par Mars.
I just really, really appreciate that Sue has these under 25 classes here at Bromont. I do think it's a nice thing for the younger riders to be in that and have that feel and that practice, and not necessarily be in with, we've got recent world number ones here and all of these other several team members, and we have with Boyd Martin here and Buck Davidson here and the amazing Jess Phoenix here and Dana Cook, and I mean the list goes on and on of what incredible riders and horses we're going to see here this weekend. And I think it's nice for these younger riders to not necessarily have to be against that all the time.
Yeah, we're definitely lucky to be joined by the crème de la crème, as we would say in French.
For sure. And it really shows that, we need to get some more entries up here at Bromont, because it is, I know I'm partial, but anyone that's been here knows this is one of the best events in the world. If this was in the heart of Europe, it would be, you'd be balloted out. It'd be very hard to be able to get into this event. It is fantastic. But it really does show the quality of who decides to come, because we definitely have in the 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, you'll have all of these top riders in the world are here trying to produce their horses to go up the ranks, and they really get a feel every time I chat with anybody, all of my friends here. You can really they bring their horses here so that they can get a feel about what they have underneath them and whether they have a team horse going forward. So he definitely looks a little fresh here today, and she's doing a lovely job managing this, and you can see why Ivie gave him a little bit of a pat outside the ring. He's going, well, I might be okay, but I might bounce around a little bit. That 10-meter circle was perhaps a tiny bit big.
On voit Ivie essayer de gérer un petit peu la tension ici, et elle fait un excellent travail en récompensant son cheval et de son mieux pour garder sa composition pour la suite.
A lovely, lovely picture, though, and she's really also another empathetic rider, but you can see she's being very good to be very soft with her elbows, let the horse reach out to the contact, as he's definitely thinking, come on, Ivie, just give me one little kick and I'll bounce out here. But she's doing a lovely job. That was a beautiful circle. It's a bad time to decide to poo. Unfortunately, I think that made that downward transition just going through the trot a bit there with them thinking about having a poo, but here we go. And also, I find that you've been doing these walk-trot transitions as well, and then, canter-walk transitions, and then you have to do that canter-trot transition there, and the horses are expecting the downward, especially the upper-level horses are quite used to doing canter-walk transitions. So that's quite a hard thing and a good test to put in these dressage tests. So that half-pass was fairly good. She needed a bit more bend and shoulders leading there. She just was a tiny bit haunches leading. Same thing a little bit this direction. She's going to be happy with this test, though. It is a lovely picture.
Ivie devrait être très satisfaite de son test. C'est très bien jusqu'ici.
Have you been out to see any of the cross country, Anne?
Yes, it looks fantastic. Derek definitely prepared quite a test out there, but it looks bold, it looks fair.
Yeah, Derek and Jay Hamley, who is the staple here at Bromont for as long as I have been coming. My first 3-day event was here in 1997, and so I have seen Jay, him out there working on this course. Nobody knows the ground and this land and these courses better than he does, and having Derek DeGrazia in here is only making what was already pretty great even better.
We've got great experience in the room.
Well, that's what they say when you get old, right?
So Ivie concludes her test. Donc, Ivie vient de conclure sa reprise. Prochaine cavalière dans le ring sera Erin Farrell de Tallahassee, Floride, États-Unis. Elle monte Atavius, un hongre de 7 ans, de 15 mains 3, un thoroughbred, par Hardspun de Wild Silk, aussi propriété de Erin Farrell. Up next in our ring is number 45, Erin Farrell from Tallahassee, Florida, United States. She's riding Atavius, a gelding of 7-year-old, 15 hands 3 thoroughbred, by Hardspun from Wild Silk. Erin Farrell is also the owner of Atavius.
Gosh, and this horse is only 15.3, as you were saying. Look at that.
Yeah.
And all the way from Tallahassee. That's a bit of a drive.
They do come in all shapes and sizes.
I know. That's actually one of my favorite things about eventing is I love going to the jogs and watching. You'll see these, one enormous 17.3 hand horse, and you'll see all the way down to a tiny little pony. I mean, we've certainly had ponies jumping around 5 stars, which is pretty darn cool. They come, like you said, come in all shapes and sizes. I find that's a bit the difference between one of the main differences between the horses that we have for eventing and for dressage and show jumping. That honestly, to me, you can either you either have a horse that can turn 2 strides towards a 1.60 oxer and it can jump it, or you don't, right? And eventing, we don't jump that big, but we do need a good partnership, and we need to be able to have a trainable horse and have good heart and all of that. And that comes in all shapes and sizes. So I think where the dressage and show jumping, they have a similar stamp of horses across the board, whereas we definitely show up with a wide variety, which I really do enjoy. So this is the last rider in our U25 3-star class here. And as I said, Erin has come all the way from Florida. I still think the person who gets the prize for the longest trip is the Nicholas, I think his last name is Starkin, the 2-star under 25s, who came all the way and from Edmonton.
Oh, wow.
So I think it was saying 3,200 miles.
That's almost 48 hours of calling.
That's a lot. Good start here, nice and forward for Erin. Like she's, I do think it's important to try to come down the center line like you're not terrified to be here. It's not always the easiest thing to do, especially on a fit thoroughbred. But she's coming right down that center line, being like, "Here I am." So that was an excellent start going forward here. She comes into her first shoulder in.
He's got 2 lovely white socks on the left side.
Good, and that was good positioning there for that shoulder in, I thought, and again, lovely rhythm. I'm liking too the majority. I've really seen a trend changing in a much nicer direction going in the last few years, where we don't have the horses are definitely going out to the contact more. I think there's been a lot of talk about it and judges mentioning it, and I really am very happy to see that. I felt even 5 years ago, and that a lot of horses were too low and had their heads in, and I love this reaching forward to the bit that you're seeing more prevalent now throughout the sport, both in pure dressage and in eventing dressage. So that she did a good job there turning and halting, but unfortunately do need to hang out for a second longer. But it's a bit of a fine line. You want to sort of stand there, take a breath, count to 5, and then ask the horse to rein back. But at the same time, if they're feeling a little bit of tension and they start to go, you don't want to interrupt that and make it look a bit like it wasn't your plan. The judges will be a little happier if they think that you just forgot to count to 5 because it was a nice rein back. And this horse has a lovely walk, really reaching out to that extended walk. And the hard bit is you don't want to really think about shortening the walk. Don't want to think really about shortening the walk there, because they anticipate this canter depart, and really you want to keep the same type. You just want to gradually shorten the reins and stretch up and keep the same rhythm and tempo there. And then it does read as you collect a couple steps before you canter, but honestly it's often better just to take a deep breath and just pick up the canter. So there, she did have a go for her medium canter, which I thought was good. And that was a very accurate 10-meter circle. Canter's just a bit, what we'd say, earthbound, but all very correct. She sits lovely on. She has a beautiful position. I liked how she took a second there. I think sometimes it's very easy for all of us to canter across the diagonal and go to do a transition and then get to the walk and then just pick up the canter straight away. And she actually took a breath there and took 3 or 4 steps.
Nous avons une très belle paire en action.
So I think another thing too, when you're thinking about the positioning of the half pass, it is such a hard thing to do, and to be making sure that you're really making sure that you're pointing in the direction that you're going, getting the bend, and then coming over. It's just really haunches in across the diagonal, and didn't quite stretch as much as I'm sure that Erin would have liked there, but I think she looks quite happy with that test. And that last center line was very nice. Yeah, she does look happy. And it is quite humid here. It looks like she's finally taking a breath and just wiping the sweat there. But he certainly looks happy and raring to go. So good luck on Saturday to Erin. And we're going to go straight into the CCI 3-star long. We're only going to do 3 of the riders here today on the Thursday. The rest of the class will continue tomorrow.
Donc, ceci conclut la division du U25 3 étoiles long. Nous allons tout de suite enchaîner avec 3 cavaliers de la division du 3 étoiles long. Et puis, la suite des chevaux seront demain pour la suite de la division. Donc, prochain dans le ring, nous avons Boyd Martin, numéro 46 de Unionville, Pennsylvanie des États-Unis, sur Fétiche des Rouges, un ongre de 10 ans, sel français de 16 mains 3. Les propriétaires sont Fétiche des Rouges Syndicat de Unionville, Pennsylvania, États-Unis. Un fait intéressant, Boyd Martin a été classé premier de la FEI pour le dernier mois. Et il se bat encore pour ce titre, donc pourra-t-il remonter et encore garder son titre? Ce sera en suspens ce week-end. So we have number 46, Boyd Martin from Unionville, Pennsylvania, on Fétiche de Rouge. A 10-year-old gelding Sel Français from 16 Hands 3. The owners are Fétiche de Rouge Syndicate from Unionville, Pennsylvania, from the United States. And a fun fact about Boyd, he was ranked first for FEI for the past month. Something like that?
Yes, he is. He was world number one. World number one. We are very, very. I'm American, so we're very, very proud of him for that. Certainly earned it, and I also think they're probably quite happy, and the horse is quite happy that you were pronouncing his name properly, since he's a Sel Français. So, a gorgeous-looking horse here. Boyd is actually also married to a German dressage rider, and she is a stunning rider. So he does have that advantage in. If you're just joining us here, I'm Sarah Kozenplick. I'm here with Anne Costain, and we are watching Mars Bromont CCI, and this is the 3-star long class, and these are the first. We're going to watch the first 3 riders go today from this class, and then we have the rest of the class going tomorrow. Now, Boyd is an extremely accurate rider. He's going to get every point he can possibly get out of this test. You don't become world number one by accident. And he's using every advantage he possibly can. He's a incredibly experienced rider, of course. But like I said, he does have the advantage of having a beautiful dressage rider as a wife as well, and a great team behind him. Incredible grooming team too by with Stephanie Simpson, and then we've got he has many good owners behind him as well, which as you need. It's rarely just the one rider in the ring. You've got to have a whole village behind you to have this kind of continued success, and none of it is ever an accident. So far so good. This horse has a lot of presence, Anne, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's beautiful. And Boyd looks so composed and focused.
Yes. Certainly not his first rodeo, so.
Yeah, if you follow his social media, he can be quite entertaining.
Yes. Well, he's mad as a hatter. It's a nice way of saying that he is completely mental. but also really dedicated and focused. And like I said, I mean, some of it's very funny because I think sometimes he's relaxed about this or relaxed about that. I'm like, no, this man thinks about every aspect of what he does. Again, none of this is an accident. From everything he's doing at home, he's an incredibly hard worker. He's built a beautiful facility, again, with his wife, Windora up in Pennsylvania, and it is one of the best cross-country schooling facilities I have ever been in the world. It's fantastic. He's put a lot into it. He moves it around a ton. Has a lovely galloping track and an indoor, and again, this is just from hard work and building it all up over the years. But again, this is how you're able to train and produce these horses, by having this facility right at hand.
I believe they do a camp each summers as well.
They just started to do that last year, yes, and I think that's really great.
Growing the grassroots and
yes,
helping
again, just making it accessible. You know, we were talking earlier about one of the things with the Bromont Rising Under 25 program is, yes, the money is very helpful, and the training that you get here from Bettina, the great Bettina Hoy, and from Peter Gray, and from countless others is a huge part of it. But one of the biggest things, I think, Anne, is also the mentorship. You know, when you're coming into this sport, it can be a bit daunting if you know, just having access to run ideas by and ask, you know, you might be a little bit scared to talk to a rider like Boyd or talk to a rider like Bettina or whoever. And having these programs in place where you feel comfortable that you can ask these questions and, you know, bounce ideas off of is a huge part of mentoring younger riders and developing the sport. That was a lovely half pass. He really did do a super job coming down the center line, setting that up correctly with positioning and bend and going over there. It's a see, you saw just a tiny bit of shoulder forward right there, setting that up, stunning positioning there, and then again into his half pass with a nice rhythm. It's one of the best half passes I have, certainly the best we've seen today. And this horse is 10 years old, and this will be a really great test to see coming out here and galloping around this cross-country course. As you come through this main arena, you can see there it's 16AB, before you gallop back up that big hill. That's sort of right when you feel the horses get a bit tired as they're coming up to the top of that hill. And he's going to really know a lot about what this horse's future is going to be like after he does that. And not only that, it also helps these horses takes them to the next level of their fitness, because every horse, I don't know how you feel about this, Anne, but some horses tend to peak a little earlier than others, but some really don't come into their own until about 10, 11, 12. And it does take a minute, and it just depends on the breed, and it depends on, you know, so many factors of when you got the horse and where they came from and all of that. And I think you have to tailor each program for each horse.
Yeah, some of them are certainly later bloomers and need just that extra little bit of time. So that concludes the test for Boyd Martin and Fétiche des Rouges. Our next rider that will be getting ready around the ring is number 47, Gabby Dickerson from Gordonsville, Virginia, United States, riding Assagart Earl, a 9-year-old gelding 16 hands 3 Irish sport horse by Golden Master from Assagart Sapphire. Owner is Peter Dean from Leesburg, Virginia, United States. Prochaine dans le ring est Gabby Dickerson de Gordonsville, Virginie, des États-Unis, montant Assagart Earl, un hongre de 9 ans, mesurant 16 mètres 3, un cheval de sport irlandais par Golden Master de Assagart Sapphire.
I am a huge fan of Gabby Dickerson. I think she's a beautiful, beautiful rider. And I actually know Peter Dean quite well. I've known him for a very long time, so I'm excited that his horse is here. I'm sure he is as well. I haven't seen him here in person yet this weekend, but I'm sure if he's not, he is tuned into the live stream. But this girl, you're in for a treat. She's a beautiful rider in all three phases, a hard worker. I'm just a big fan. And for those of you that aren't in person here at stunning Bromont, I'm glad that we get to bring it into the comfort of your rooms or wherever you might be watching here worldwide. But I will tell you that we've all brought the absolute wrong clothes for Bromont because we're used to freezing our bums off, pissing down with rain, and we've been in shorts the past couple of days. It's been stunningly beautiful.
Nous sommes chanceux avec la température car à chaque année, c'est plutôt une période où il peut faire froid. Et cette année, on a du beau soleil et de la température assez clémente. Et les chevaux semblent s'en réjouir autant que les cavaliers.
Beautiful start to this test. Lovely, soft forward. She's going to be quite happy with that. I mean, look, she's got sunglasses on, Anne. I want to know the last time someone wore sunglasses at Bromont.
Almost beach weather.
There's a good angle in that shoulder in. And again, these, like I keep mentioning, these horses look very fit and strong, and they will need to be. Bromont is not a dressage show. It's definitely good to get yourself a solid start here in the dressage phase, but the cross country is always influential, and the show jumping is as well. And not just because the courses are beautifully built and designed in the show jumping, but also because having galloped and on the terrain the day before, it does change quite a bit how the horses can feel show jumping versus galloping over a flatter course, or nowadays in modern eventing, just for simplicity's sake, many of the horse trials you show jump before you go cross country. So it's a very different feel when you start to get to the 3, 4, and 5 star level of what the horses feel like on the final day. That was all very well executed. I really liked every bit of that. And she's making sure, she's showing by moving her elbows there and making sure, look, my horse is moving forward to the bit. I'm not scared to ride from my extended walk. And I think she's going to do a good job with not shutting down this working walk here, this medium walk here. She did do a very good job with that. It is important that bit of tension can really show in that moment there as you're coming up to do the canter depart, but she did a great job. A medium canter down the long side there. And I'll tell you, that 10-meter circle, I always forget it. So I have not seen one person forget it, so I'm feeling really silly that I always forget that one. Oh, that's a bit of a shame there. She was a tiny bit, it's hard to tell from this angle as well, but she was a tiny bit, I think, small on the first part of that circle and a tiny bit big on the second part. But again, I might be looking at it from the wrong angle, and they just fell behind her leg a little bit there. Unfortunately, as she was coming across the diagonal to do her canter walk, but the canter walk transitions itself were good. And again, these more experienced riders, we're now not in the under 25 class, we're now into the professional class, and these more experienced riders know very well to put whatever happens in the pass movement behind them and just try to get everything they can. Every 0.5 that they can, a little bit higher, could really make a difference on the final day.
And that's sort of part of the experience that we want to get for the young riders as well, right?
Yes.
That they learn that from the sport.
Yes, it's such a mental game, isn't it? Like, it's just, and you can only discover these things by practicing under pressure, like we talked about. And I think that part, very good positioning here. Again, you're seeing these more experienced riders are coming down that center line, setting it up with a little shoulder fore and getting the proper positioning before they go into the half pass. The younger riders were a little bit more leg yielding or bum leading in the haunches in feeling there. And that's as the great Linda Zhang always says, don't make it too easy for the judges to knock you down. She's a little bit haunches leading this direction, actually, but I ride really well from this behind the microphone here. It's much easier than being down there in the ring. I think she's going to be very happy, though. It's been forward and pleasant to watch the entire time.
Donc, à date, c'est un test qui est très relax pour ce cheval et elle devrait être très contente de sa performance. Dans l'ensemble, c'est quand même très bien.
Well, it's quite a bit different sometimes with how you're going to, there's a real trick to ring riding. And of course, riders, the professionals are going to be very good at it, having had so much practice. But how you're presenting each movement in the arena can be quite different from what we're playing around, when we're training at home. And there is an art to it.
Alors, ceci conclut la reprise pour Gabby Dickerson et nous sommes certains qu'elle sera très satisfaite. Prochaine à se préparer autour de la reine est le numéro 48, Kendal Lehari de Uxbridge, Ontario, Canada. Elle monte Mitchell, un hongre de 10 ans, 17 mains 2. Il est un cheval qui est un off-the-track thoroughbred. Il est par Giant Gizmo de Bear Memory, propriété également de Kendal Lehari. So up next, we'll have an off-the-track thoroughbred named Mitchell, a 10-year-old gelding 17 hands 2, by Giant Gizmo from Bear Memory, owned and ridden by Kendal Lehari.
If you're just joining us, my name is Sarah Kozenplik, and I'm here joined by Anne Costain, and we are watching eagerly the Bromont dressage phase here for the 3-star long. And we have a Canadian about to enter the ring. My friend Kendal Lehari is going around on her handsome Mr. Mitchell, and she is been a staple for our Canadian eventing for, I don't want to, well, she's not old, I shouldn't say that, but I shouldn't say that because she's younger than me, but she's been riding at the advanced level for many, many years, has been incredibly successful. She's a fantastic teacher as well, and she brings up her horses beautifully. They're always very happy and relaxed, and I really enjoy watching Kendal ride.
I went to be her working student in 2016, and it was a lovely time that I had during that time.
And you don't always hear that, Anne, and I will say that. Her atmosphere, you can tell. The horses are always very happy, the people around her are very happy, and it does don't you think that makes all the difference in the world for people coming into these, because it already is a very hard-working and stressful environment sometimes.
For sure, and they have a very family-oriented business, so the mom was into the horses, and her husband gets involved once in a while, so it's a very nice atmosphere.
This horse has a lot of presence. It was a tiny bit irregular there in that first medium trot, unfortunately, but what a beautiful horse. And it's a lovely thoroughbred as well. Nothing beats a good thoroughbred. When you have them moving like this, you get pretty excited. And I have to say, I know this might sound like a really silly statement, but I feel like her best horses have all been chestnuts, Anne. So I remember she's had a few very good chestnuts, so maybe she just needs to be a bit prejudiced and only get the chestnuts.
And they've all been off the track thoroughbreds as well, right?
Yes.
This one has really nice white socks, quite fancy.
It looks very strong too, doesn't he? I mean, he looks fit, but he also looks strong. I think sometimes people confuse horses being, they might look a little more emaciated, like the more racing fit. They confuse that with necessarily having the horses strong, And this horse looks more like what we see when we go to Europe when you're watching at Burghley and Badminton and those sort of things. Like those horses are, yes, they are fit, but they are also strong. And she's done a beautiful job with that because it does take... traditionally, it does take a little bit longer for a thoroughbred to develop that kind of top line than it does a warm blood. Some of us are built more for running and some of us are built more for bodybuilding, and thoroughbreds are definitely built more for running. I would say that I'm more of a good keeper. I wish I was built more for running. Well, so far, so good. He has been keeping one ear on those cross-country fences, Anne.
Oh, he's looking forward to Saturday.
He is. Every time he goes past one, he has, one little ear over on that. So she's going, hey, we've got to do a little bit of these circles before we're allowed to go galloping out on the course.
What I find great about this venue, too, is that you have so many spots to watch from on cross-country day. It's also great for spectators.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to walk around. If you happen to be in the area, I mean, coming here to Bromont, the town itself is absolutely stunning. Loads of cute shops, amazing restaurants. And then coming out here and walking around this cross-country course, it is, again, I know I'm prejudiced, but I will say it is possibly one of the most, if not the most beautiful places to be. It really, really is. And now that we have the live stream where you can actually see all of the course, I think that does really help as well, because it's a bit of a shame sometimes if people might sit by the waters or whatever and not actually go all the way back to see the coffins and things like that. But if you're here, I strongly encourage you to walk back there and have a look at that terrain. The coffin here at Bromont is one of, I don't know if we're allowed to say that anymore, but the ditch complex at Bromont is one of the most imposing and wonderful ditch complexes in eventing. It's a great practice, honestly, for Kentucky, because Kentucky has a very similar terrain question, and it really does help for horses to have come here to do that.
Ce que Sarah nous fait part, c'est que Bromont est également une venue très intéressante pour se préparer pour le Kentucky, particulièrement pour la combinaison du fossé qui est assez challengeante pour les cavaliers et les chevaux, mais c'est un bon test préparatoire pour les prochains objectifs que les cavaliers peuvent avoir.
It's interesting to me, Anne, because this horse has just gotten better and better and better as he's gone through the test. And I would have thought that after the canter, he might have been a bit more up, actually, coming back to the trot to finish those half passes. But he was beautiful. It was absolutely lovely. He took a breath. Kendal, he's showing all of her experience and horsemanship and kindness there. He's saying, hey, we know we need to just make sure that our horses are happy and comfortable in the ring so that when we get these horses up to the 4 and 5 star level, we're not having to feel like we're on ticking time bombs, because she is a little bit on a ticking time bomb right now and has done a beautiful job. So we are. That will conclude the CCI 3-star dressage for today, and we will be joined back shortly to watch the feature class of the weekend, the 4-star long.
Donc, ceci
Cleaning your dog's teeth can be hard. But not with Greenie's dental treats.
Greenie's, well-being made wonderful.
At Nutro, we believe in growing healthy dogs. Our nutritious food is made with high-quality, natural ingredients to help dogs live full and active lives. Let's grow healthy dogs.
welcome back to beautiful Mars Bromont. We're about to get underway with the 4-star long. I am Annie Bishop, and we're excited to be bringing you all of the action from Mars Bromont this weekend. It's a bit warm here today, but yesterday it was much warmer, and we've had a great day so far. We've had the under 25 2-star long go earlier today as part of the and also as part of the 3-star as well. So lots of action happening here, and we're excited to bring you all of the coverage. As I said, we will get underway with the 4-star long in just a moment. And first down the center line will be Jessica Phoenix in aeronautics. And we're excited to get this competition kicked off. We'll be bringing you all of the action all weekend, as well as a course walk where some of the riders tackle some of the combinations out on Derek DeGrazia's cross-country course. So keep a lookout for that, and we can't wait to share it with you. And I am delighted to be joined by Sarah Kozenblick, who is currently in second place in the 2-star long.
Yes, hi Annie. What a beautiful day here at Bromont. No, I was actually riding a client's horse today, and she is leading in the 125 class, Kelsey Seidel, and her other horse was the one I was riding in the regular 2-star long, and he was a good boy.
That's wonderful. Well, I was just saying we're going to be bringing all of the action, and we were able to catch up with Derek and some of the riders to be bringing some of the course walk to everyone tomorrow, so keep an eye on lookout for that. And we see Jessica Phoenix there cantering around the ring on aeronautics. This horse is one that Jess has been partnered with for a bit, and actually at their last outing they won the 4-star short at Ocala, which actually helped propel Jess into second place in the U.S. Equestrian Open.
How cool is that? She is one of my favorite riders, and certainly a favorite here at Bromont. Staple of Team Canada for many, many years.
Jess is busy this weekend. She has a number of horses here in the 4 long and the 4 short, and then a lot of students as well.
Oh yes, she's a very hard-working lady, no matter where she is in the world. I think for her, when she travels, she's about to travel overseas this year, isn't she, to go compete at Aachen for the first time, Annie?
She is. I actually got to talk to her the week that she found out, and she was over the moon excited. She's actually never been to Aachen, and she's taking the wonderful Freedom GS over. That's
going to be so cool. I've been able to watch that horse doing a bit of pure show jumping as well down in Ocala, where we're so lucky and spoiled for choice on different venues. But I've seen her jumping some meter 40s down there on that horse at Hits. And that'll certainly be good practice for Aachen because, as we know, the show jumping there is extremely influential.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's wonderful to have Canada sending some really good horses and riders over there to contest something like that. And this is certainly one of their most experienced riders to be doing it. And I know I say it every time, sorry, Jess, but we do have to call you the Smiling Assassin because you're so beautiful and so smiley, and we're all terrified. I'm just saying she's an incredible competitor. She is such a good teacher as well, and such a student of the sport. Every time I see Jess, she is that much better. I mean, every single time. I'm not talking about just from a couple of years ago. I'm saying from a couple of months ago. She really works so hard. I've been able to watch this horse a little bit. I did get to see him at Ocala. I thought Jay Hambley, who is a course designer here as well at Bromont for many years. So we do have the great Derek DeGrazia, who has really been such an asset to Bromont. But I will say underneath, well, I shouldn't really even say underneath, but a base of supporting that, the foundation of it, is Jay Hambley, and he has been designing at the Florida Horse Park as well, and I think he's really done a super job there. It's obviously a very different piece of ground than what you're going to be dealing with here up at Bromont, but he has managed to put in a few knolls and ups and downs and bits and pieces so that people can hopefully get a bit more preparation for jumping on terrain like this here at Bromont.
I think Jess will be happily sat on this horse come Saturday. He's a 12-year-old thoroughbred gelding, so...
Yes, and we were talking earlier, Anne and I, about some horses, as you know, we've talked about as well, Annie. Some horses come into their own, honestly, when they're 10, 11, 12. It can take a bit of time, and at this level, to me, I love seeing the longevity of these horses, that we start to have them really, winning top events at 16, 17, 18 years old. I mean, it was kind of fun this year watching Ballamore Class, and even years ago when David won in Sydney. I mean, Taylor was 17, I believe, 16 or 17 years old at that point, and it's all testament to the horsemanship and looking after your horses and bringing them up so that they can last for a long time, because the partnership and the training, if you're doing it properly, then you're going to get a little bit better. And I think sometimes people make the mistake of thinking that they have to have their horse at a certain point and competing at a certain level when they're X, Y, and Z age, but they're all so different breeding, different backgrounds, different training, different experience in life, maybe some injuries as a younger horse. I mean, there's all these things you've got to put into place and take into account. Well, Jess is doing a very accurate test here, Annie, and that is not a surprise. And we've been talking about this all along, that maybe you might not have exactly the, the most through or loose or relaxed or big moving horses, but if you can come in there, I think Boyd does a super job of this as well, and be so darn accurate that you're not giving away anything. And Jess is an example of that, and that's a bit when you're watching some of the wonderful under 25 classes that we have here at Bromont. That is something that you'll see the difference between these professional riders that have been doing this for a long time and those kids that maybe don't quite have the ring craft down yet.
And that really is such a part of that game is the ring craft and not giving points away. And Dana and I have talked about it. You and I talked about it a lot. Like, it really does make a difference. She seems very pleased with that.
Yeah, she's happy with that.
Sarah, I'm sure you saw, but sitting in the tent, sort of on the berm, there are a whole slew of FEI judges here. And
they are. You get worried when there's like what do you call it when there's that many? Do you call them a murder? Like when you have ravens? I think there's a murder of FEI judges here. I actually ran into. I do want to mention that's the other place, Annie, that I was talking to you about this horse. Was we watched it together at Terra Nova as well, which I believe he won that class. So that was another, right? I believe, did he not?
No, he won at Ocala.
Oh, he won at Ocala. Okay, but I definitely feel like I saw him there.
He was there. Yeah.
But yes, the murder of FEI judges. I actually ran into Marilyn Payne. I just ran into her, and I also ran into Wayne Quarles. So,
yeah, it's wonderful, and they're all here doing sort of education, which is, it feels like such an educational weekend overall between Bromont Rising. You have all the FEI judges here. It's really, again, I think everyone flocks to Bromont. It's a great place to come learn.
Oh, absolutely. And again, I was talking about this a bit earlier with Anne, that's down to a vision, a worldwide vision that Sue has always had, and that is, trying to promote this event around the globe. She does a lot with different competitions, with the Bolivarian Games, the Central American Games, and things like that. She goes and does TDs and stewards and does all of that stuff, because we do need to grow this sport worldwide. But another way of doing that is to get all these stewards in here and all these course designers and judges from around the world to try to do their continuing education here at Bromont, because that is a huge, huge piece of trying to keep the standard universal around the globe.
Here we see trotting around the ring Emma Clugman and Shiraz. This is a 12-year-old Holsteiner gelding. And Emma actually just got married last weekend.
She did just get married, and we're so, so, so happy for her. So an absolutely gorgeous, lovely, kind girl as well. And they run the business together there in Maryland, and I adore both of them. She's a real horseman, and her mum's here too. It's a real family affair, And this horse was actually produced by my dear friend, Mickey Kuchta, and who also did the lovely horse I have, Rubens Dassault. And she is some horsewoman, and talk about another excellent example of the sport. She's now a dressage judge for us around the world as well. And this horse has won here at the 3-star with Boyd, and so that was it's a great horse to be bringing here, that she's going to actually jumped around this terrain before. And so Emma's very smart to bring him here. I think it's really going to suit him. She's got these horses very fit. I was noticing that in the jog. They're really ready to be here. And so it's going to be quite an exciting weekend for her.
Yeah, and this horse was actually in the top 10 at Kentucky in the 4-star short. And so it's really wonderful to see him here. And I actually got to see him at Devon, the arena eventing, about a week ago, and he looked super, and it's exciting to see him here.
And she's actually worked a bit, because Emma is Australian, and Bettina was doing a lot of work with the Australian team for a bit, and so she is actually, you can see this here, yeah, and that's a bit Mickey as well, I will say, but she's actually worked with Bettina quite a lot as well, and no one is better to be preparing horses into the dressage phase, and we have Bettina here. Bettina Hoy is part of our coaching our under 25 Bromont Rising camp this week. I really liked how she positioned and prepared her half pass as well. And we were talking a bit about that earlier with, again, the difference between some of these experienced riders, just making sure that you're doing that tiny bit of preparation with the bend in the shoulder forward beforehand and then coming over. You'll see sometimes just not taking that extra second and you have a bit of haunches leading, or maybe it looks a bit of a leg yield, and you're not really going to see that with some of these guys, and a beautiful transition to walk. She's doing a good job here and the horse is being really good actually as well, because as I said, very, very fit. These 4-star horses as we come in here are going to be very fit to run on Saturday. And she's really making sure that she has a nice positive forward thinking, reaching to the bit walk there, but also you're walking a fine line because they are so fit. And I think, Annie, we're going to be
just
a little bit anticipating.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a good thing for the horses to know the test, and sometimes it's not. And as he's quite new still to the 4-star level, sometimes they're not used to doing the changes in the test, and so it can be a little bit trickier. But she's recovered beautifully and just did a very nice extended canter there down the long wall.
Yeah, and he's just 12, and we always talk about longevity of the horses, but a lot of times they don't really fully grow up, until and sort of have full strength until about now.
Right, and also remembering that this is his 3rd rider in not that many years. And so Mickey does, like I said, she does a beautiful job producing horses. She does not want to ride at this level anymore. But when you're going, no matter how good the rider is and no matter how good the program is, it's all still very different, and it takes a minute. So, for her, you're thinking about Boyd having the horse a couple of years ago and then Emma having it. It's really still a fairly new partnership in the grand scheme of a horse's career. She's got to be happy with that. That was very nice.
And even after that sort of anticipation into that first change, he still stayed with her.
Yeah.
And didn't sort of overthink anything after that.
No, and he's walking there very happily on a long rein, and so he's going to be a better horse having come in there and had a nice experience. And that is a very, very important thing. You have to, as a rider, you do have to know how to compartmentalize your brain a little tiny bit. And regardless of how it goes, the horses only need to hear good things and happy things, because that is our responsibility as a rider. This is not something that they're going to would be doing naturally in the wild. And so these are our own expectations that we are bringing into things, but we have no right to make them feel stressed in these situations.
See some of the crowds that are here this afternoon. It's so great to see spectators here. And if you are watching from afar, be sure to tune in tomorrow evening, because they are going to have the RCMP, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police musical ride, which I can't actually wait to see. I've heard a lot about it, and apparently everyone is very excited that they're coming here, because I don't think it is a sort of normal occurrence.
I think it sounds really cool, and it's fun to have all these different things going on and pulling in different parts of the community to just to enjoy horses and to enjoy this beautiful, beautiful park here at Bromont. And the more people we can get involved with all of this, the better.
So next into the ring, we will welcome Haley Frielick and Sportsfield Lumiere. And this pair, their most recent run was at Kentucky in the 4-star short, where they ended up 13th. I think that this has been a long-time partner of hers. This horse, actually, he's a 10-year-old. Sorry, I was thinking about a different horse she has. He's a 10-year-old Irish sport horse gelding. And Haley rides for New Zealand. It's nice to see all the different flags.
Yes, it absolutely is. And New Zealand, of course, responsible for many, many world number ones and team gold medalists in Olympic Games and World Championships. They really are the top of the equestrian sport and eventing, and have been for a very long time, all the way back to the dream team of Mark Todd, Andrew Nicholson, Blythe Tate, and Vaughan Jeffress. It's very much the culture growing up there. I mean, New Zealand is an amazing place to be and to live and to raise horses, and they have a lot of racing there, beautiful racing blood and the show jumping, and it's a very sporting lifestyle and a very farming lifestyle, and so it's a wonderful place to start in your equestrian sports. But it's a bit far away from Montreal.
Yes. He's got a very active tail.
Remember Mary King used to have a horse that would do that called King Boris, and it was funny because she almost won badminton one year, because sometimes the judges would really not like upset when that's why it was swishing its tail. But some horses just do this, and Boris would do that. He would do it in the show jumping and cross country and in dressage. And I remember one year, I think it was Burley or badminton, it was one of the two, but she was winning from two judges and then was something like 15th from the third, which is just a bit of a shame. But, you know, dressage is subjective.
The only part of our sport that is.
Yeah, yes.
It also depends too, you know, with the three judges, sort of what they each can see based on their viewpoint.
For sure. And the other thing is, if you don't, those of you that might not know this one, if you do have a difference between one judge and the other that is 8 points or more, they actually need to sit down and talk about it amongst themselves, because that is quite a big difference. You'll very often find one judge will consistently score a bit lower than the other. But, you know, normally it's sort of 4 points would be 4 or 5 points would be quite large gap. But if it gets to as much as 8 points, they do all need to discuss it. And I was saying to Anne earlier that one of the things I've really loved about watching in the last few years is there's been a big push across pure dressage and also into eventing dressage of making sure that the horses are really opening up their throat latch and reaching to the bit, and not there was kind of a fad for a bit where I felt the horses were too bent in the neck and too deep and a little bit behind the vertical, as we'd call, and there's definitely been a push in recent years to mark that down, and we're starting to see it more, I feel, in the last couple of years, that's really, if you do have your horses too, what we'd say cranked in, you will be marked down, and I really enjoy seeing that.
That was a lovely change.
Well, he changed a little early, but then she corrected it.
She
She corrected it. So that
in.
was very smart. That was very smart. Because again, if you have something like that happen and you change, be behind and not in front, or in front and not behind, and you've done it early and it was a bit of a mistake, sometimes people just continue on. But what she did was kick him back into the true canter and then the change, which will hopefully help her to have a better mark.
Well, and if nothing else too,
A little early behind again.
it's also then a little bit of training as well, right?
Absolutely.
Is sort of, you can't take every test that you still sort of need to work on those things.
And I will say this horse does have a nice rhythm, and they do seem to have a good partnership. Could be just a bit, I ride very well from here, right? She can come up here and have a go at me tomorrow. But the canter itself could possibly just be maybe a little tiny bit more jump underneath it. But we all don't know sitting here. She's doing a great job making it all look beautiful and relaxed, and we have no idea. And I think she's going to be very happy with this test. It was a lovely picture. Oh, good halt.
Again, he seems very pleased with himself. And she looks happy as well.
Yeah, she does look happy.
First phase of competition complete.
She always looks really nice on the jog up strip too, Annie. I know
That's important.
That's an important thing, but I always quite like that. I like seeing people's different styles on the jog strip, and I always think Haley looks very nice.
I think yesterday at Bromont, people were a bit surprised, but they had sent out a memo that it was supposed to be festival wear. So some of the riders that we're very used to seeing in very proper British tweed were in less festive.
I'm not sure you should allow the English too much leeway on that sort of stuff, because it can already be a bit questionable. But then you tell the music festival, and then it really becomes. My mum is English, and I was, and she's also colorblind, so you can imagine that nightmare of what we had to wear to school growing up.
Wonderful. Well, next you see cantering around the ring, though, there is Sophia Middlebrook and Prontissimo. This horse is a 11-year-old warm blood gelding.
And this horse is owned by Krista Smith, and I've always been a fan of this horse. It's a beautiful horse. And Sophie rides with Laura Nicholson, and it's a super jumping horse, and Sophie's a very good rider, and so we're wishing her the best of luck here this weekend.
Their last outing was at Tryon in the 4-star short, where they ended up in 5th place.
I saw her there. She looked great. Really good.
This pair spent a little bit of time over in Europe last year as well, in England. And they were actually here last year in August at August Bromont in the 4-star short. So she understands what the questions will be out there.
Oh, for sure. Sophie's been coming here for a long time, and she worked with Boyd for a very long time as well. So Boyd definitely comes to Bromont every year. It's a staple on his calendar. So yes, she would be quite familiar. Nice canter on this horse, huh?
Yeah.
Beautiful balance. And Sophia is tiny. You could pick her up in one hand, Annie. She is tiny, but very fit and strong, and a beautiful rider. I find it very fun to see, we're one of the only sports that men and women compete equally, and, that is a very cool thing. And there's people of all shapes and sizes, competing in this, and the same thing in eventing for the horses as well. And I really, really enjoy that about our sport. It's not quite as common in dressage, pure dressage, or pure show jumping. It takes a certain stamp of a horse most of the time, but in eventing you definitely run into all shapes and sizes, and it's really down to the training. We don't jump that big, but we do need to be able to gallop, obviously, and train the horses properly, and we need to have a partnership and heart. And so that's something that I think is special to our sport.
It is. Dana and I were actually speaking about that earlier, that it really is sort of all shapes and sizes, and that makes it so interesting and so special, and it really shows you, as you were saying, what partnership can do.
So far, a very accurate test. I mean, she's been well trained, as I've said, and she's not going to be allowed to give a point away, or off with your head, Sophia, if you do. Just joking. This horse looks really lovely and fit as well. I mean, we've been talking about that as well. All of these horses are looking very strong, very fit, as they will need to be. It's a serious cross-country course out there, and the terrain is always a factor, and the weather is always a factor. So we are lucky that we've had such good weather this week, because there's been a lot of rain up here in Quebec, and we're quite thankful that the event is this week and not last week.
Yeah, and I think, even with a bit of rain coming in potentially on Saturday, I was talking to Derek earlier, everything should hold up.
Well, it's certainly been wetter. I don't know if that
Yes.
makes it better.
But I mean, even Hannah and I were saying it's like nice to have maybe it be a bit wet compared to a bit hard, because this time of year is always so difficult with the hard ground, and it's just can be harder on the horses as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so far she's got to be quite happy with this. She's coming in, yeah. One more turn to change. Got to set up here, and it's usually about 3 strides to the center line, and then the change. That was a tiny bit stuck there, just a little bit, but still nice. And then you have to, this test does come up very quickly, Annie, when you ride it. Because you come in there and you pick up that canter, you have to turn, you canter the 3 strides, do the flying change, and then you go immediately in to the half pass, and then you have to go from the B up to G. I mean, it does come up at you quite quickly. And then also where you're coming just there to do your final medium trot, or extended trot rather, across the diagonal, most of these horses are used to doing canter walk transitions or canter halt transitions, and so they've started to write these tests where these upper level horses, and both the 3-star and the 4-star tests, will have to do a bit of a trot transition, and the horses, you do see them kind of go, whoa, what are we doing? But that is there on purpose for sure, and Sophia is going to be very happy with that. That was a nice test.
That was lovely. We have a few scores in for Emma Clugman. She is on a 30.0. Jess Phoenix and Aeronautics will go forward to Saturday on a 32.3. I think those ladies will be very pleased with those, because I think those are right about where their average is.
Yeah, and I think, both of them did such a super job. Jess did not give a point away, and neither did Emma, and I really thought that they got everything out of those horses that they could today, Annie.
No doubt. And actually, Emma's average dressage score with this horse is a 33.8, and so I think she'll be very pleased with that.
Oh, she's got to be. I really thought that looked good.
And thanks to our friends at Eck Ratings, who have given me quite a lot of information to share with all of you this weekend, which is very helpful. It's amazing to have the team at Eck Ratings.
It's fun to see the numbers, isn't it? It really, really is. It makes us actually on par with other sports, where we can see this and kind of see our batting average and all of that kind of stuff. Because it sometimes it's not exactly. I mean, we normally have somewhat of a feel for it because we're around this, all the time. But sometimes it's a bit different than I think, and a lot of their predictions are spot on.
Yeah, it is interesting. I mean, and sometimes even they will look at the prediction center and they're thinking, how is that right? But and that's heart, right? And so it's that balance of heart and head. And I think finding ways to use the numbers and use the predictions to help tell the stories of these wonderful partnerships. And so, again, for Emma, they've just bested their 6RA, which I think they should be. 6RA is the 6-run average, but that's a great way to start a weekend.
Absolutely. And as we've been saying over and over and over again, this is not a dressage show here at Bromont. So what are the boys at Decorating saying about how often the winner of dressage wins the entire event? Do we have that up there?
I do have that, but I will tell you in a little bit.
because I would imagine that's not as high of a ratio as other events.
No, this is definitely one where time will play a factor as
well. Show jumping does too.
Yes, exactly. And actually, I do know that no one in the last 2 years has made the time, although Philip was only 1 second over in 2023.
Wow. And that was a wet year, Annie.
Yes.
So good for him. My goodness. I remember that year being very boggy, actually, up by the top water coming down there. So I've been out there. I know you have too, talking to Derek and stuff, and I've walked around the cross country course, and I will say to you, I think it's one of the best courses he's done here. I think he's really, he's one of my favorite course designers, very partial, but I really like what he's done this year on every single level, and I think it's going to ride very, very well.
Yeah, it was great to chat with Derek. I mean, he says what you and all the other riders say is that this really is a place to produce horses and to understand what your horse is ready for next, and to teach them something, and then to understand sort of if they're ready for that next level. And if they can jump around here and feel confident that really stepping up to that next level shouldn't be a problem. And I think we're lucky to have this venue here. And, I was also saying there's, riders that, like Buck Davidson's here, and he's in the, the two and the 3-star, because he knows it's how to produce horses. And he specifically targets it for the young horses, even if he's not bringing one up for the 4-star.
Absolutely. And I love seeing, I was just, when we were watching the 3-star earlier, I love seeing the horses that came up the year before. I mean, Ivie Cullen-Dean was up here with the horse that she was in Bromont Rising in last year, and he was a 7-year-old doing the 2-star, and looked at, just was still a little bit of baby fat at that point. He was an adorable horse. I really like him. And all of these things. And then this year, oh my goodness, up to a whole nother strength level, fitness level. And so she, of course, has thought, this really did a lot for my horse here last year, and quite rightly so. I'm going to bring him back and give him that next level up. And he's, I think she's going to have a great weekend. But I've noticed that across the board, that there's lots of people, I came for the 2-star, and I'm going to come for the 3-star, then I'm going to come to the 4-star. And then what if you jump around the 4-star long here at Bromont, there's not too many courses around the world you will not be able to do.
I think that's exactly right. Bramham's running this weekend, as we were saying earlier, and I think that Bramham is similar to that in the UK, is that, and Harry Mead, who's the new world number 1, says that every time, that if he has, he always targets Bramham, because it's a really great place for him to understand where his horses are and if they're ready for a track like Burley. And I think that Bromont is that as well.
Oh, for sure. And interestingly enough, Bramham is also where the under 25 competition is for.
Yes.
And I actually did that a very long time ago, and it was really fantastic. And I had done Burley on the horse I brought to that under 25 competition the following year. And I mean, Bramham is serious.
Yes.
Bramham is serious. So I certainly didn't feel, I know I was on a good horse, but I certainly didn't feel like I was just having a walk in the park. I mean, and Bromont is similar. And this is one of my favorite horses, Annie.
Well,
I really love this horse, and I love this girl.
So Dana Cook and Effie Quattro. And actually, speaking of predictions, Equiratings Prediction Center predicts that Dana Cook and Effie Quattro have a 32% win chance here this weekend.
Well, there we go.
So
no pressure, Dana.
I didn't tell her that when she was in here earlier. I didn't think she needed to hear that from me, but...
No. Well, Dana bases with that lovely Hugh and Diana and trains with Clayton Frederick. So she has a fantastic support team and coaching team behind her. And we're talking about how Jess is, if you're always a student of the sport, we're never going to know everything we can know. We're never going to be as good. Even Michael Young, I know, is constantly out there trying to do this and trying to do that and up his game. And Dana is very much that way. She's an unbelievable groom as well, and then has worked her way steadily up the ranks to riding, and is such a worker and so kind and understands the sport and has surrounded herself with good people. But that's, again, none of that's an accident. The people want to get behind horsemen like her.
Did you know that she's a farrier also?
I did not know that. Of course she is. That's actually a step too far. Now I'm going to have to not like her.
She said she tries not to tell people that, but then she
because
announced
you don't want to put the shoes on again.
But then she announced it on the live stream, so I feel like I can say it again because she got a call from a friend this morning who couldn't quite get a hold of the farrier and asked if Dana could come tack a shoe on. She didn't have to end up doing it, but I thought it was helpful to know.
That's such a useful skill as well. My and our team USA farrier, Rebecca Ratt, is and also my farrier. She is this gorgeous, strong and obviously, but this gorgeous girl that also is a fantastic farrier that learned from the great Steve Teachman. And oddly enough, since we were going to have a little bit of Cavalia stuff going on here, she was in Cavalia for like 7 years.
Which is unbelievable.
Unbelievable. So Dana is just come in here. This horse as it presents a stunning picture. That I tell you, working with Clayton, he is such a he's so exact on his test riding. He's very correct. He worked with Harry Bolt, for the great Harry Bolt, forever and ever and ever with the Australian team, and he not only obviously is the everyday work very correct, but that man knows how to ride a test. And that whole beginning bit there with how she positioned the shoulder and how she positioned the half pass was absolutely correct. looking a little bit up there, is just having a look at all the people on the hill in their warm weather gear and their shorts there. So got a tiny bit distracted. So that right shoulder in didn't have as much bend as I'm sure she would have liked, but the half, she's got it back here for the half pass. I see his little ears straight forward. He's actually one of the few that we see here without a bonnet on, which is interesting. Maybe, I have a couple of horses that don't really like them. So occasionally I have a horse that just doesn't want something on their head. But the bonnets do help to muffle the sound and things that are going on around the arena. And so I think you just got a tiny bit distracted with what was going up there on the grassy knoll.
Yeah, Dana and I were talking about earlier how, as you're coming up the levels with the horse, and every time you go to a show, you really sort of figure out things about them, how you should structure your warm-up, how many rides a day you need, etc. And things like ear bonnets would be part of that as well. Like, do you need one in the ring? Does it make it worse? Is it more distracting?
Yeah, for sure. And he just lost a little bit of a focus there too, and had a little bounce. But remembering, I know we've been talking about it, but these horses are very, very fit. Very, very fit. So it does make it almost a little harder. Sometimes you might see the horses in the 4-star long class be a bit more bouncy sometimes than the ones in the 2-star, because they are incredibly fit. So unfortunately a tiny bit late behind there, but she's managing all this very well. She's being a very empathetic and soft rider, and she's again just sort of playing with fire a tiny bit here, so she's just trying to keep a lid on it. And the other thing which wouldn't just something to mention, because we were talking about playing around with all of these different things. Excellent extended canter, good girl, because that's not easy to do when you've got something a bit bouncy. But she showed the transition up, she showed the transition back, and as you come around here, you come around and then make the turn, 3 strides, change on the center line. That's not a serpentine, that is an actual turn. So unfortunately, just a little bit tighter, the whole thing here, than she probably was hoping for, but still a beautiful picture, still getting every point that she can, riding very accurately. There he was. Good girl, Dana. So the other rule changes that have happened, which actually would be something that Clayton would have been excited about, because he's been a proponent for a long time of not having tight nosebands or having flashes and things like that. And so that is a rule that came into place in May of this year, and has also impacted some of people's gear and how they're setting things up, that we have to have a much looser noseband than the rules used to allow. And she is still very happy with that. I'm sure she was thinking it could have been wilder, folks.
Well, we were talking about how that sort of the berm up there can be a big distraction for them, and can just sort of throw them off their game maybe slightly.
Mm-hmm. There is a lot of atmosphere here at Bromont.
We're going to take a quick break here. We will be back with more action from the 4-star long at 3:13. So be sure to tune in then. We'll be right back.
13 minutes past 3 o'clock.
Gravity Defier for life. IMS for life. Different dogs have different needs, like skin and coat, mobility support, and healthy digestion. That's why IMS Advanced Health has different formulas, so every dog can be a healthy dog.
remember.
Welcome back to Mars Bromont CCI. We are underway with the 4-star long. I'm Annie Bishop, and I have Sarah Kozenblick here in the hot seat with me.
Hi, Annie. This has been an exciting day of dressage here, if dressage can be exciting. But it has been an exciting day of dressage here at Bromont, and unseasonably warm weather, Annie.
It is a bit warm, and, we were joking yesterday that people were in shorts, and that feels a bit odd for being at Bromont, but we'll take it, and I think that some of those horses that have traveled up from Florida and from other parts of the states are probably a bit happy it's not too cold.
Not going down to 40 degrees, yes, for sure.
So we have a few scores in. We're just waiting on Dana Cook's score, but we have 36.2 for Haley Frielick and Sportsfield Lumiere. And for Sophia Middlebrook and Prontissimo, they will go forward to Saturday on a 36.3. to see our
Super. I think everyone's been quite happy so far with their horses, honestly.
Yeah, and the all of the scores so far are very consistent with what you would expect for these horses to come in on. So
Absolutely, and these horses are fit for this. This competition is a serious fitness test, and the only one that I thought was maybe a little bit more up than I normally see was with Dana's horse, but she rode him beautifully, and it is a lovely horse. So, any given Sunday or any given Thursday, these things can happen.
no doubt. See the beautiful Bromont sign there, the host of the 1976 Olympic Games.
It was funny. I was watching Bettina because I have a couple kids in the under 25 Bromont Rising program, and I was down there with Bettina while she was warming them up to go into the 2-star. And she said, I was asking her, and I was saying, I'm so glad you're here. What a great experience for everyone. And she said, when I first came here, it was so cool to see that sign because I'd only seen it in books. I'd only seen it in books and old pictures. And she said, I came into this arena and it was such a cool feeling. And it really is a special feeling in this ring.
It is. We've just gotten a score in for Dana Cook and Effie Quattro. They will go forward to Saturday on a 34.1.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful horse. She did a super job, and I think on a normal day would be a few points higher. Honestly, she really did a great job, and the horse is lovely. But he was feeling his oats today, as they say.
Yeah, and again, there is definitely more activity, on that berm today, even when there was for ring familiarization. There's a lot of people in the tent up there, and I think actually, a few of the riders have mentioned the tent is maybe helping a bit because sometimes that berm can feel a bit empty. So if there's one lone person, that becomes very distracting.
Up there with sinister
Exactly.
motivations, yes.
But even I was speaking to Megan Save, one of the young riders, and she was saying that even her mare went in, and because all of a sudden the cars are placed and everything feels a little bit closer, and there are more people around, that her mare stayed with her, but what did take exception to a few things there.
Yeah, I mean, it is a different thing on game day, regardless of what, how many times you've been allowed in. I mean, they're very generous here at Bromont, allowing us to spend a lot of time in ring familiarization and be in this main arena. And I really do think all of us riders really appreciate that. It's not a hard thing to do, but it really makes a big, big difference for us just getting our horses comfortable in the competition environment.
Well, we just saw go by our screen, and we'll see here in just a moment. We saw Lauren Nicholson and Larcott Z. This horse is a 12-year-old Zangershire gelding, owned by Mrs. Mars.
It's a beautiful horse, this horse, and obviously Lauren is a very experienced rider for Team USA, so... and is a proponent, of course, of bringing, as so many top riders are, of bringing their horses up here to Bromont to further their education and to see where they are in their training and in their fitness. And, you really do get an idea of whether these are going to be 5-star horses when you ride here at Bromont in the 4-star long.
This pair were recently 6th at Tryon in a 3-star short as they were prepping to come up here.
Yes, and it's always interesting to me to see what different riders do to prepare their horses for the competitions. Very often, a lot of riders will choose to run a level down right before they come to something like this, because not only do they not maybe want the run for fitness, but it's also a nice thing to have it not be so hard all the time, Annie. We do ask a lot of these horses, and it's important for them to peak at the right moment, but that is individual. Some horses are actually better with a harder run the last run out, and that's just these riders really knowing the horses and feeling confident enough to go, it's going to be better for me to do a 3-star than it is for me to do a 4-star, and that's going to make the horse better at my season goal. Beautiful picture, of course, starting out this hole. I thought the shoulder end presentation to the to the center line to the half pass was lovely. Just a little bit out behind there in that halt transition, but the rein back was good, and she did take a second and a breath. I think sometimes, again, the difference between watching some of these under 25 classes that we've been watching, which is a lovely thing to have here at Bromont, and the professionals, is that they, even when something doesn't go quite to plan, they're going, well, I've done the halt now, I'm going to stand here for the 5 seconds and take a breath. And you would think that 5 seconds would be a short period of time, but in the arena like this, it is an eternity. Gosh, there's a lot of people up in that tent.
Yeah.
How great to see. Lauren, of course, a longtime student of David O'Connor, who is a technician on all of these things. So she certainly knows how to ride her tests very accurately and get every point out of every movement that she can.
He's looking very relaxed and with her.
Yes, absolutely. Lovely soft following elbows there, just showing the judges that she is encouraging the horse to reach forward in the extended walk to the bridle. And that's always a bit of a tricky moment right there when you're shortening the reins. They know that canter transition's coming there, and these horses are very, very fit for Saturday. 3 strides here, change, perfect. That was very well executed. Perfect positioning there into the half pass. She's very careful to have, again, we've been talking about it a lot, but it's just something that I've really loved to see that has changed quite a bit in our sport in the last few years. I love seeing the open throw latches, horses reaching to the bridle. And, beautiful riding's beautiful riding, and, good riders have been doing that forever, but I just feel that now they're getting more rewarded for riding this way, which is nice to see, these horses not being a bit too what we would call behind the vertical. Those,
Lovely.
I mean, she's going to get, that was accurate as, that was very good.
If we're basing it on past scores, she would be expected to be our dressage leader overnight.
Okay, well, that's not surprising after watching this so far. And it's a beautiful horse. And that, very good. A touch early there, and I know why it probably happened, is that, that's a beautiful transition, but that is a tough movement going from the canter to the trot with these upper level horses, and she probably just relaxed a touch early thinking he was going to do 1 more or 2 more strides, and he just was so with her that he was a beautiful downward transition there, just a smidgen early. Well, she's going to be delighted with that. That was an excellent test.
She looks very pleased, and he looks very pleased with himself, and he's just seen that he has an audience.
He noticed it a little bit in his walk, but
said, "I'm so glad you're here."
Yes, exactly. Another horse, interestingly, without a bonnet as well, Annie.
Yeah, it really does come down to personal preference for the horse, really.
It really does. It's just a bit unusual to see it nowadays. I think you very rarely see it, and I find that interesting and kind of cool when you just what people do and why.
Well, I always think famously of Austin O'Connor at Burley a few years ago, and he went in the ring and a bug flew into Salty's ear because he doesn't usually wear a bonnet, and so they had a very unfortunate test. But Austin then rerouted and ended up winning Maryland just a short time later.
It's a great story, isn't it? And that was his first 5-star win, actually. And I know that Tim and Nina Gardner were very instrumental in getting him over. And what an awesome story it was. Austin is an incredible rider, an incredible horseman, and it was really fun for his first 5-star win to be over in North America. Yeah,
it was incredible. Austin tells a story that he was there with the owners having a drink after sort of the weekend not going to plan, and that Tim Gardner walked up and said, "Well, maybe you should come to Maryland."
Yeah, this is how a lot of this stuff tends to go in the sport.
And thank goodness for wonderful owners like the Gardners, not only wonderful owners, but just huge supporters of our sport.
Of the sport. And they're looking at the whole picture and infrastructure and venues. We are incredibly spoiled in North America. They are losing venues at an alarming rate in Europe. And over here, we are actually quite spoiled for choice. And we have one beautiful venue after another. And this is a venue that many top riders and coaches will tell you that we need to be utilizing and be so thankful that we have, because we sometimes get a little bit, like I keep using the word spoiled, but we do get a little bit spoiled with how many options we have, and we don't think about how we're progressing with our horses and keeping these venues going.
Yep. Next, we welcome into the ring Savannah Fulton in Cash Point.
Every time I see this horse, she does a beautiful, beautiful job, a beautiful job. And every time it's a little bit better and a little bit better. I don't want to jinx it today, but she is fantastic. She's a really incredible horsewoman, comes from a wonderful working horse family, and they have an event called Full Moon in Maryland, and a riding school and progressing, just really these things that we so need to develop and continue the sport, teaching the grassroots level all the way up to having Savannah there as well. And she's also married to a Canadian, actually. She's married to a Canadian who is a beautiful dressage rider, David. But he did ride up through I believe, the intermediate level in eventing as well. So he understands the sport, which is quite good. It can be tricky when you both work in the same industry, but when you have when you're complementing each other, much as Boyd Martin and his lovely wife Silva do as well, it can be a real advantage. This is already miles better than even the last. She's just, every time I see it, it's a really cool horse. He's a very good jumping horse. She's taken her time with him, very careful about where she runs and what she does. And again, that's no accident. She's come up with, she worked for Buck for a very long time. She went over to England and was beautiful around Burley there, and on a little thoroughbred. And so she does understand all of these aspects, and is producing this horse very, very well.
Yeah, you can tell just looking at the record, she's really picked where she's going to target him with development in mind. He's been at four star now for a full year. But again, as you were saying, every time I see this horse, he looks better and better, and he looks stronger. He's only a 10-year-old. And so what an exciting horse for her.
Absolutely. And I know dressage has been something that she's been chipping away at. And I will say this is so far really starting to look. You can see the strength and the confidence in her really starting to come through.
In this pair, actually, at the 3 long at the Maryland 5-star in 2023, were on the podium there, and they were in 3rd place. So it's wonderful to see him then progressing on to this level.
Good. That was a lovely clean change. I think it was a stride earlier than she was anticipating, but we never get mad with clean changes. We just continue on. So quite accurate, beautiful riding to the center line there. That movement, she really showed the start of the half pass, the correct positioning, showed the half pass, then went straight afterwards. It really, you do have to break down these movements piece by piece to show these polished, lovely tests. There's a little tiny of a bug in there. It's a little bit buggy down in that ring today. Ooh. Again, a clean change, a little bit of a bounce, but that's fine. These horses are very fit. Now, it's interesting. She has a figure 8 noseband that you don't often see in dressage, but I was just thinking that this horse seems very happy in his in the bridle. He's very happy in this bit and this whole setup. And you have to be able to think outside the box a little bit. You can't be married to there's guidelines to things, and there's basic principles to things, and but they are just a guideline. Well, that I think is by far the best test I've seen her done. Well done, which she's got to be over the moon with that. Well done. She is. I think she just started breathing. I talked about how small Sophia is. This is also another pocket rocket here. We could hold this we could probably hold Sophia in one hand and Woods in the other, but both of them are very strong and fit girls.
Really, it's so wonderful to have all of these wonderful riders here at Bromont, and again making that decision because they know what Bromont will give them as a venue. Just see our next rider sort of making their way over in just a moment. That'll be Ariel Grald and Diara.
I love this horse. This is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful horse. And of course, Ariel is a stunning rider. So we go from one rider that we could hold in the palm of our hand to one that is even taller than me. I know you didn't think girls could get taller than me, Annie, but Ariel is even taller than me. And it's funny this winter, you know how you get running around with everything going on at Rocking Horse Trials. I was driving to the event and I forgot my riding boots. And I thought, oh my gosh, nobody's the same size as me that's a girl, right? And my friend Jenny Brannigan just, I was panicked, and she said, Ariel. I thought, oh, yes.
Thank
Fit like a
goodness.
glove, thank goodness. so we're about to have, beautiful rider, lovely person as well, has produced a lot of horses. Her longtime owner, the wonderful Annie Eldridge, is also here, which is really fun to see. I'm really glad that she's here to watch her horses go.
Yeah, this mare I love to see, and she's a 11-year-old Hanoverian mare, and we'll get to see them in just a moment. And just for those of you watching at home, maybe you don't know, but again, each rider is given a time, and they don't have to go over to the ring until it's their chosen time. So we might be a minute or two early, but Ariel will have had her warm-up planned, and she will only go to the ring when it is time, because she will know down to the moment what this mare needs before she goes in the ring.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes you decide to go a little bit earlier, and that's your choice. But I imagine, most of the time, if we do have it planned down, it does depend. It can be quite different from one horse to the other. And so we're definitely not going to run the risk of feeling rushed in that situation. And again, professionals will take every second they can. And you'll find the same thing when they ring the bell as you go around the arena, or they ring the bell in the show jumping. That's 45 seconds that the riders have from when the judges ring the bell to when they have to enter the arena. If they do not enter the arena within that 45 seconds, they do get a 2-point deduction. In show jumping, the clock starts, but in dressage, it's a 2-point deduction. But you will find it's very, very rare that a rider will have that deduction, because they do know exactly what that 45 seconds looks like. In show jumping, we often have a clock that we can look at, but in dressage, you're just going off a feel, but we know about what that is. And the experienced riders will take every second they can.
Because you'll know how I get nervous sometimes when I'm watching a rider. I'm like, you have to get in the ring. But of course, they know how long it takes them to canter from one end of the arena to another. And it may feel like tight timing to us, but you all know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, usually. I did actually, for the first time in my life, I was late in the ring at Bruce's Field this year. I had an unexpected spook when I thought, well, I can probably do one more circle, but turns out I couldn't. It's the first time in my life.
Another horse without a bonnet.
It's really interesting. I'm wondering if it's the heat and the sweat, what is going on, because I really honestly can't remember seeing so many horses in modern day eventing that have come in without a bonnet.
This mare's ears are one of my favorite things. She is so expressive with her ears. Hannah was saying earlier that she heard from a racehorse trainer that if they have long ears, that means they're honest. And I think that this mare has quite big ears. So
I love that. That is a very Hannah thing to say.
Yes.
And she is a super jumper. You guys are in for a treat when you watch this horse across the country and in show jumping. Ariel herself is a lovely cross-country rider, forward-thinking, balanced, really, really good. And has spent a lot of time with Lenamore Master Plan, actually doing some pure show jumping and proper small Grand Prix and meter 40s and things like that. And that, the way with the modern sport is going, is really quite a valuable experience. So maybe not quite as much bend as she was hoping for in that shoulder in, but she's doing a lovely job managing it, sitting beautifully, positioning the horse well. Just had a tiny bit of loss of rhythm, if I'm being picky, in that. Wow, those hind legs, huh? Mm-hmm. That's why she's a good jumper.
Yes.
And again, you know what? Good on her, because she still took a breath and took those 5 seconds, even though Diarra was ready to do that rein back the second she stopped. But I think it's much better training, and certainly showing the judges that you understand what is required from the test when you do hang out there for a second. Even though, won't maybe get the perfect mark for that halt, it's great training for the future. Bit unfortunate, but we sort of felt that was coming a little bit. But again, she rides with such tact, soft, lovely, moving elbows. When they say a rider has good hands, they really should say that the rider has good elbows, because that is where it is coming from. So when a horse is a bit up like this, she's doing a great job. The walk can feel like it's lasting for eternity.
No doubt. We actually saw a few horses in the 2-star that the walk actually helped them, and that a few of them actually ended up taking a deep breath, and that their work after was actually better. But it either feels great or it feels, as you say, can be an eternity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think she did as good a job there as she possibly could, and that change was clean, and she turned in the right spot. It was a little bit tight, but she's doing all the movements accurately and presenting them well. And again, she's constantly making, as she rebalances to do something, she also then immediately is showing, hey, look, I'm allowing again, and encouraging the mare to reach out to the bit. It's not always happening, but she's making that conscious effort to not only try to do that to relax the horse, but to show the judges that she is allowing the horse every opportunity to reach forward and take a breath. I think she's actually going to be quite happy with this, Annie.
Yeah, she's done a masterful job.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful, beautiful hind end on this horse. Holy cow. She really is special.
And even in the moments where it felt like maybe she was losing the mare a bit, she still then came back and stayed with her for the next movements, just these brief moments. Wonderful. She just makes her take an extra beat there and has a big pat. So we have a score in for Lauren Nicholson and Larcott Z. They will go into the provisional lead at the moment on a 27.1. Emma Clugman and Shiraz are still sitting in second on a 30.0.
Provisional score just coming in for Lauren Nicholson. Larcott Z.
Wow, fantastic. Well, that's not surprising, Annie. We definitely loved that test.
Yes.
And I think, all the judges agree quite clearly.
Yes.
And it's nice to see such consistent scores across the board there, too. I mean, 2 of the judges scoring a 73.
Yes.
Wow, exactly. 73.57. Holy cow. And a 71 from the other judge. I mean, all very close together, which is fantastic. I know I'd mentioned it earlier, but I think it's important to note that there is a rule in with dressage judging that if you are more than 8, I think it's 8 points or more difference between the scores, that it does come under review. The judges do need to all talk to themselves and kind of figure out why they were seeing something so different from a different angle. But it's nice to see it can be subjective, and if you're judging from E, it's a very different vantage point than being up there and judging at C and judging from M. So even though you might have similar philosophies of what you're trying to look for, the vantage point of the movements and the accuracy is quite different.
No doubt, and we can see that in a few of the scores, but again, very consistent overall. We see circling the ring now Elisa Wallace and Lissavora Quality. This is a 9-year-old Irish sport horse mare.
Joining us from Frielick in Florida.
Lisa's
Sport horse mare.
had a big trip up here from Georgia, I believe.
From Florida.
From Florida, that's right.
Yes, she's down there in Florida, and I imagine that John Holling and they probably all travel together would make sense to me, but that is quite some drive, Annie. But that's another testament from a top rider as the importance of coming here to Bromont. And Elisa is a beautiful rider, she trains horses beautifully as well. And this is an exciting horse for the future for her, super jumper. I'm really, really excited for her. Every time I see it, it's a little bit better, and I'm excited to watch her go this weekend.
Yeah, they had a great spin around at Kentucky in the 4-star short there. They ended up in 15th place, and they had a super round there, just some cross-country time. But I think they were like our first double clear show jumping on the Sunday.
I was going to say the show
4-star
jumping record on this horse is quite good.
Yes.
Which is nice because, she had that lovely Johnny horse that was a super cross-country horse, and they look beautiful everywhere together, but he was a bit tricky in show jumping. And so it is nice to have, it is a more comfortable feeling on the final day to be coming in with something that, you're not having to manage quite so much to jump a clear round. And that's a tough movement as you come out of the corner there too, because the shoulder in actually starts at S, and that's it's not the easiest thing to ride. You kind of have to think about. I really enjoyed listening to Peter talk to and I've heard him do some of these talks a few times. I'm very lucky enough to do that, talking about how to ride these tests with the under 25 kids that are here learning this week. And one of the things he always says with that particular movement, oh, great halt. Look at her, she's hanging out. That's nailing it, right? He always says with that is you come around the corner and trot straight, and then you start a little bit of the bend before, about a meter or 2 meters before S, and then you go into the shoulder in, because if you're thinking about doing the shoulder in at the letter, you are a bit late with it. So again, talking about the ring craft of all of this stuff is so important, and Alyssa obviously is well versed in that. Well, I can see why it scores very well on the flat. I've seen him a couple of times, but lovely and forward. Again, super rhythm. She's positioning everything perfectly. And she doesn't look scared to walk. Always a big thing. Yeah. It's nice when you're on something that you can actually ride the walk.
They swing in the back there. Mare looks nice and relaxed.
Yeah, lovely overreach there, and reaching to the bit and a little bit out and a little tiny bit, but that this is exactly what you want an extended walk to look like. And she's not changing the rhythm as she shortens the rein. She's marching right up to that letter to canter. That is fantastic. And when you see those a couple of small steps right there before that canter transition at A, that is actually written into the test. You collect the walk for a couple of strides before you do the transition to canter. The screen unfortunately froze for a moment there on the live stream, but it was a tiny bit stuck in that change, but clean. And again, the horse is not that experienced at the level, so this is all going to take a second for all of these things to be ironed out. But the overall picture is really nice. Very well written there. Yeah, you could tell that change was going to be good. She really set that whole thing up nicely.
And really just the mare's first season at the level.
Yeah, it's impressive. She's done a good job. She's going to be delighted with this. I would honestly expect this to be right up there. It's been a very good test. Maybe slide in just after Emma or just ahead of Emma, to be honest with you. I thought that was a very nice test. Lovely square halt. Well done.
Nice. We just have 2 left to go in the 4-star long division here. It's Mars Bromont. We'll be welcoming back to the ring 2 ladies. This is our last 2 that we've seen already, and that will be Emma Clugman and Jessica Phoenix.
And Jessica Phoenix is on Wabbit, which is my favorite name to say.
I know.
I think Buck forever ago had a horse called Dada Dada Batman, and I love that too. You have to be kind of old to know that whole how that fits in. But
there's a lot of kids Googling right now.
I know.
Just shaking their heads,
Dada
wondering.
Dada 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 Batman. So, unfortunately, it wasn't an upper level horse, but I really wished at the time that it had been.
It had gotten that far. You see Jess just making her way around as Elisa is exiting. Jess brings forward Wabbit, who is a 15-year-old thoroughbred gelding. And this horse was actually here. He's been to the Forlong a few times here at Bromont. And Jess has tackled some very big courses on this horse. And
I'm actually kind of excited about this horse this weekend. I think it could be a really good weekend for them.
Yeah. He has been to Burley and Badminton and 5-star at Maryland. He really captured a lot of hearts and minds at Burley in 2023. I think it's safe to say show jumping is not always his favorite. And he had one rail, and Jess coming out of the ring lit up so big, and the owners were it just was really wonderful, and I think it's just an incredible moment.
About the sport, watching how excited everyone. Look at that little pad as she comes to canter down the center line. Just again, just that reassurance. Yeah, the owners and the grooms and all the support behind these riders. It's definitely not just the riders cantering down the center line here. It takes a village.
It certainly does.
I imagine Jess's longtime dressage coach, the great Jackie Brooks, will probably be watching here. Definitely a good person to have on your side. And that was, again, very well presented, right? Just showing, hey, this is exactly where the shoulder it starts. You don't actually need to straighten up as you come into this half circle to the half boss. You just continue with the bend around there. In some movements, you would actually finish it and clearly show it. But when you go into a half circle, you just continue around there. Use the half circle to position for the half pass, and she did that beautifully. There is a method to the madness on how these guys are riding the dressage test, as much as sometimes we want to question that. Very nice hold.
And very easy to say what they should be doing from here.
Yeah, and so that's 4 to 5 steps back in the rein back, and she timed that perfectly. You do have to think, again, we're watching professionals here that have been doing this for a very long time, and so their craftsmanship in the arena is going to be quite good, but she's not going to throw away any points that she doesn't need to. But so if you're given the task of being 4 to 5 steps when you're going backwards, and you're at 4 steps is when you start to think about going forward. So it's a smooth transition onto your trot there from the rein back. Then if you get 5 steps, it's okay, but you don't want to do 6. The other thing, I know we keep talking about kind of silly aesthetic things, but I like it, is the other thing that I think is quite cool is you're seeing a lot less horses with pulled tails, which I think is very nice. And they're not always plaiting them either. Like, it's just, it's more of a jumper kind of a feel, and I think it's nicer for the horses, right? I mean, I not that I don't enjoy a good plaited tail, but I think I think it's nice to see a little bit less of that, actually, even in the recognized horse trials now. You're seeing a lot more people not braiding for the classes either. And I think, it's one thing if you, of course, go ahead and braid. Nobody's going to be funny about that. But I think when you're talking about a lot of these professionals that have a lot of, these grooms have a lot on their plate, and it's just not something that actually matters in the grand scheme of things. So, we don't need to be overworking for silly things. It's just my opinion. She's doing a great job here. This horse is very fit and is very up, and she's gotten every point that she could out of that trot work and walk work, and now she's got to keep a lid on it for the canter.
Sarah, it's interesting too, because I know that the grooms and obviously the riders, you all spend a lot of time also thinking about how will my horse look the best, right? Sort of where will his sort of top line look? Where can we really show that off? And so that will come to the types of braids that the grooms will do. Same thing with, as you were talking about plaiting the tail. Maybe he doesn't look as good,
sure.
Or maybe he doesn't like it either.
No, sometimes they hold their tails out to the side and they start. But you're absolutely right, Annie. And again, it's all an art form.
Yep.
Just trying all of these different things that you can do. And quite frankly, that was a good change. Well done, Jess. Quite frankly, you can also, when we're up there as riders, what one horse can look like they are almost not on the bit.
Yeah.
And the visual from the riders too, you do need to have your trainers and your grooms and everybody down there giving you a hand and say, well, you need to actually ride this horse a little bit lower. You need to ride this horse a little bit higher, because what you're seeing up there or feeling up there as a rider isn't exactly right for the presentation for the ring. And that's where people on the ground are such a valuable part of the whole thing.
Jess Phoenix is sitting in second place in the U.S. Equestrian Open rankings. She's had quite a season. I think she's had a couple of weekends where she has had more than one horse on the podium. So she's had a super season so far, and as we were saying earlier, she's headed to Aachen, and we will wish her the best of luck.
I think she's going to be very happy with that test.
Yes.
That was quite good. And look at him, he's like ready. He's ready for Saturday.
And now we go cross country.
Exactly. He's just passing through on his way to the cross country course.
Well, I think, again, we talk about some of these horses, the thoroughbreds will be happily sat, but I think she will be happily sat, especially if we get any more of this rain that's coming in. We know that horse eats up a cross-country course, and no better rider to be on him.
No, for sure. I mean, she's certainly well versed on Bromont, and I don't think anyone knows this course better than she does.
We'll have our final horse in the ring here in just a moment in the 4-star long here at Mars Bromont. Coming forward will be Emma Clugman and RF Redfern. Just as a reminder, we will be bringing you all of the action from Mars Bromont this weekend. We will start back up tomorrow with the rest of the 2-star long divisions at 9 o'clock, and then followed by the 3-star, the rest of the 3-star divisions, and then we'll be bringing you the 4-star short tomorrow afternoon as we round out our dressage coverage tomorrow ahead of jumping and cross country this weekend. Again, if you're in the neighborhood, please come and join us here on site. The park is beautiful. There are people everywhere. There's vendors here, and we can't wait to see you. And if you're tuning in, please make sure you tune in also for the RCMP musical ride tomorrow evening, which I think will be a real treat here in the main arena.
Oh, absolutely. How cool. And I think, we were talking about how beautiful it is up here at Bromont, but walking around the cross-country course, there's also the village itself is so adorable, Annie. I mean, we really do feel like you get such incredible food here. There's lovely little cafes and restaurants and little shops. And so if you haven't had a chance to come up to Bromont, definitely put it on your calendar. Or if you're thinking, hey, I don't quite ride at that level, just so you know, there is next week, there's Petit Bromont, which is they do now have a 1-star competition here. And they do a horse trial. So they go all the way from preliminary down through, I believe, novice level competition here at Bromont. And it is really, so if you'd love to experience it, if you're just not quite at that level yet, but would love to come up and experience it, come up for Petit Bromont. And it's also an educational opportunity. Sue Ockenden, who is obviously the driving force behind why we have Bromont here, also allows, usually at the end, it's a very educational time. There's course walks and talks and things the whole way through at that event. And they do, after the cross country is finished, she's very kindly opens up this cross country course for schooling.
Oh my
so
goodness.
It's really a great thing. If you went around and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't quite ride that corner correctly, or I had trouble getting through that water, in the afternoon when the event is finished on the Sunday, there is cross country schooling.
That's unbelievable. I mean, what an opportunity.
And for me, I have a couple of kids that wanted to bring horses here this year, and so we brought horses to the 1-star last year so they could get the experience of it. They were younger horses, and it was really a great thing to do.
I remember seeing your girls last year, and they were so excited to come up and to be at Bromont. And what an opportunity to be at a venue like this without having to be at that level and getting the young horses exposure even at a smaller show.
Oh, absolutely. And 2 of those girls that came up here last year for that are part of the Bromont Rising Under 25 program this year. So it really does take some planning when you're doing these sorts of things. I mean, go ahead and it's worth the drive, and it's one thing that our sport very often, we had taken some beautiful places, but this is actually something you could incorporate with a family trip. You could come up here and have a lovely time and not torture your relatives.
Yeah, Dana and I were saying earlier, it's one of those venues where you can go have a nice dinner with an owner or your friends or family, and it's not a venue where you're 30 minutes from anything, and so it really does, it's so lovely to be here. And I was telling my husband yesterday that I loved it here, and why couldn't we spend more time up here? And he said, well, how would you feel about it in March? And I said, well, it's not March right now. I feel pretty great about it.
We don't need to be here in March because they're spoiled. But, and also Quebec City isn't that far away. You can really Montreal is amazing. And you can really make a little trip of it. So I just highly encourage people to consider that.
Agreed.
And this is a gorgeous horse. You guys are in for a treat. We have our Fred Fern coming down the center line with Emma Clugman.
This pair were actually second in the 4-star short at Morven in the fall. They also went to Kentucky.
Beautiful there at Morven.
Yes.
I mean, it's another incredible venue, another Derek DeGrazia cross-country course. We have Jeff Kibbe, who does the 3-star down, but Derek does the 4-star at Morven, taken over from the late, great Tremaine Cooper, who we lost tragically early on in his course design. Well, not early on in his course design career, but early on in his life. Yes. It was a freak accident, and but now Derek has taken over that course. Well, I love how this mare trots.
Yes.
I've always been a huge fan of the presence that she has.
It looks kind of dreamy.
Yeah, she can be sometimes a little bit trickier in her canter, but the trot just blows me away, and I'm excited to watch the whole thing. Again, incredibly fit, which I keep mentioning. I thought both of her horses looked ready to roll for Saturday.
Emma's schedule vexes my brain. So Emma, listeners, if you don't know, is a full-time, she's a lawyer, but she
graduated from Georgetown, people.
Yes.
Like, this is not online law school.
But she clerks for a judge in D.C., and so her days consist of being in D.C. working and getting all of her horses ridden. And so I think that it's a wonder that she sleeps. But I'm always in awe of everything that Emma seems to get done in a day.
Absolutely. And again, she has a great support team behind her. I think, her wife is also a beautiful rider. I think, again, it's surrounding yourself with the right people, but it is impressive. It's a little bit,
Well, and the people that are like ready for whatever brand of crazy you're bringing them, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we all have levels of crazy.
It's got to be a lot. I'm not gonna lie. It's got to be a lot. And I always say this because I do think it's a fun side fact. She's all of that, but she's also a classical pianist. She's a very good pianist, and so as good as Bobby Costello is,
and one of only a few people to be like double rated something in Pony Club. I mean, there is not a thing that this girl tackles.
Dude, I am also that. Okay, so don't.
Okay,
that's the only thing. I'm not anything else she is, but I am that.
Look at that.
Very good change. Yeah.
This is the best I think I've seen this horse in the canter
The
work.
canter work has much improved, and it's always been a talented horse. And again, we were talking about, some of these horses, like, they do take a bit to get to get to the highlight of their career. And this is just looking better and better. It's definitely the best test I have seen this horse do at this level. Well, I think she's going to give a couple of people a run for their money here. This was very, very nice.
I think we are going to have a very tightly packed
Yes.
bunch going into Saturday, and I think that every second will count on the cross country.
100%. As we keep saying, this is not a dressage show here at Bromont. Oh, she's delighted. Well done, Emma. It's not a dressage show here at Bromont, but it is good to get as many points as you can on the first day, because I tell you what, in that show jumping ring on Sunday, you're going to want them.
Yes. Well, we thank you all for tuning in here to our coverage from Mars Bromont on the first day of dressage. We hope that you've enjoyed watching all of the action from here. Don't forget to tune in tomorrow morning as we start coverage again for 9 a.m. and check out all of the scores. You can find all of the scores on event entries. Don't forget to tune in to YouTube or Clip My Horse. And thanks for following along, and we look forward to talking to you tomorrow. Sarah, have a lovely evening.
We will. We're about to go to the red and white party here to support the Canadian team. So if you're at the Bromont site, that is from 5 to 7. Come join us.
Excellent. Well, thanks all, and have a lovely evening.
Cleaning your dog's teeth can be hard. But not with Greenie's dental treats.
Greenies, well-being made wonderful.
At Nutro, we believe in growing healthy dogs. Our nutritious food is made with high-quality, natural ingredients to help dogs live full and active lives. Let's grow healthy dogs.
Thank you.